Ayanda Mhlongo has been carrying the story for us. Ayanda, what's the latest?
Good morning once again, Desiree, and to our viewers. Any minute now, Desiree, we expect President Cyril Ramaphosa to arrive here at the Pinetown Civic Center. In fact, just behind me, here's a security preparing for his arrival. Desiree have cleared this area here. There's quite a lot of people. Of course, this, as I said earlier on, Desiree, is a difficult situation, but also it's now all hands on deck, from government's response to civil society also coming in, non-government organizations also coming to assist due to the magnitude of the damage that has been caused by the flood. So we're just awaiting now the president to arrive here, where he is going to be given a briefing by the province, led of course by the premier of the province, Sihle Zikalala, who is accompanied by his MECs, the MEC for Education, the MEC for Finance, the MEC for Health, and the MEC of Cooperative Governance. As we know, the Department of Cooperative Governance is being given the responsibility to coordinate a government's response. And so they have been provided with updates and reports from the disaster management teams that are out deployed across the province of KwaZulu-Natal. But of course, the main focus being here in the eThekwini Metro, where we know that the largely has been largely affected. 45 people so far reported to have been killed by these floods. We are continuously getting reports, Desiree, of more people now being found, or more bodies rather, that have now been found. In fact, just a few minutes ago, we alerted to a recovery of 3 bodies in the area of Inanda. We will be confirming that, of course, with the authorities as soon as we get a chance to. And the mayor of eThekwini, Mqolisi, who we spoke to earlier on, said that is the focus now in these today as well as tomorrow. It's the recovery efforts, and it's also trying to access areas that have been cut off as the bridges were washed away, roads have been completely eroded, and so there are many areas across the city where they have not been able to get any aid and assistance in those areas. They have, of course, called upon organizations to come in and assist, like the Gift of the Givers, for example. That is one organization that has offered its assistance to the people of the province, and there are many other organizations that are now joining forces with the government to assist. The South African National Defence Force as well was expected to arrive in the province at 6 p.m. we were told yesterday afternoon, also to assist on the ground. Government is saying that the priority now is, one, to get to the areas where people need to be evacuated immediately, but also to provide immediate aid and assistance to people who have lost everything. The mayor of eThekwini is saying to us that just in the metro alone, they estimate that over 4,000 homes, largely these homes were in informal settlements that were washed away by these floods. So that alone, Desiree, 4,000 homes. That should just tell you how many people, and these are just informal settlements, how many people are currently displaced. All right, there you see now just behind us, and I suppose this shows that the president is going to be arriving any minute, and now the ministers awaiting the arrival of the president. The Minister of Police, Bheki Cele, the Minister of Cooperative Governance, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, the Minister in the Presidency, Mr. Mondli Kungubela, and the Premier of the province, Sihle Zikalala, live in your visuals now as they await the imminent arrival of the President. I'm just looking on my right, Desiree, and I can see his convoy approaching. The President is about to enter the Pinetown Civic Center, where, as we said, he's going to be given a briefing this morning by the Premier and the officials from the disaster management. on the extent of damage here in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and thereafter the President is going to go on a site visit. There are 3 areas for now that he's going to be visiting, families of those who lost their loved ones in these floods. He's going to be starting off in Ward 22, then 29 here in the area of Claremont. Thereafter he will then go to Ntuzuma, and we are told he could also then go to Mlazi. But Desiree, just on that, his itinerary has been changing, and we are told that that is due to the fact that some of the areas where they intended the President to go are not safe, and they have not yet been able to get access to those areas. So live in your visuals now, the President Cyril Ramaphosa arriving here at the Civic Centre. The provincial officials, of course, want the province to be declared as a state of disaster, and this, they say, is to enable the province to be able to access emergency funding from the National Treasury, as well as to allow them to reprioritize the province's current budgets in order for them to address the challenges of the ground. Mass damage to infrastructure, as the mayor of eThekwini said, that as a result of the damage to infrastructure, residents just here in eThekwini alone could experience weeks of water cuts, of power cuts, as substations, as water pumps and reservoirs were damaged by this rain. But of course, Desiree, there's other issues now that have arisen from this disaster. Some people are concerned about a government's response. I mean, yesterday we visited one of the informal settlements in Quarry Road in the Durban CBD, and people were saying that after hours, it was the night before, that their homes were washed away, and hours later they still had not had any indication. No local leaders were on the ground to at least give them guidance in terms of what was going to happen, where they were going to spend the night. And we spent a few hours with the residents there. Over 100 people were without homes, or rather there were about 100 homes that had been washed away. And by the time we left, still no clear indication as to what was going to happen to those people there, and the schools in the area were just not enough to house all the people that had been displaced. In fact, looking at that area, many of the people should have been evacuated as early as yesterday morning due to the danger in that area. So those are just some of the issues that have, or the challenges rather, that have arisen after this disaster. Some areas we visited, Desiree, people are saying yes, there was a warning that had been issued by the South African Weather Service, but that was not communicated to communities, and that maybe government also through the municipality or through the Department of Cooperative Governance needs to find different ways in which to reach communities, particularly those in low-lying areas, so that they are able to seek shelter, so that they are able to evacuate on time. As by the time they received the warning, others were saying also the warning just said that there were going to be heavy rains, and the province and the municipality has experienced heavy rains in the past, but they were not told to the extent of the weather conditions, and of course these gale force winds that then followed. That's just what we're picking up on the ground, but a lot of people, Desiree, the desperation on the ground. This, as the mayor of eThekwini was saying, did not just affect only certain areas, but these torrential rains, these heavy gale force winds affected people across the city. Literally, there is no area in the eThekwini metro that has not been affected by the storm, whether it's people's homes that were completely flooded, whether it's homes that have been washed away, whether now it's people without electricity and without water. It's not just residential areas and people's homes, it's also businesses as well have been greatly affected. And the other concern now is what we saw yesterday, scenes of looting down in the Umlazi prospecting area, and where now police, we are told, are deployed to that area to ensure that they monitor what is happening there, because what government has said they do not want to see is scenes that we saw in July, where this type of looting could then possibly spread to other areas. We were also told by the mayor this morning that they woke up to protest in certain areas, and we are told people there protesting over a government's response, that they've had no officials and no teams that have responded to those areas to come and assist. Although it's all hands on deck in terms of what government is saying, but to the communities on the ground, they are now saying that they've been waiting now for hours and there has not been any communication. They have not yet been given any direction in terms of what is going to happen to them. So a lot of issues now cropping up at Desiree, that government, on top of this whole disaster that they're trying to manage, they're now having to deal with these situations that now are arising as a result of this disaster. But of course, all of this is going to be communicated to the president. He is going to be given a briefing, a full brief in terms of the needs on the ground for the province, and thereafter he is then going to be taken to inspect for himself and to see for himself some of these areas that have been damaged by these heavy storms. So we are on the ground, as we said, at Desiree. We'll be moving from the Civic Centre to the President's first stop, which will be Claremont, Ward 22. For now, Desiree, it's back to you.
Ayanda, thank you so much for that update. Of course, we'll keep touching base with this development. Let's take you live to this now. The ESCOM Chief Executive Officer, Andre de Ruyter, and his